And we're live. I was almost on mute, started talking. I was almost still on a mute, and then I looked up. I'm like, oh, I'm on mute. Child, listen, I sat down after cooking this big, nice meal. I sat down and, started going through my YouTube channels, who I can watch or whatever, right? Kyla, of course, Genesis was on tonight. He's on right now tonight. And so I said, well, let me hear what they talking about, because sometimes I can't take hearing them no more, because it's a bunch of foolery, like a bunch of lies and, just a bunch of bullshit, retarded nigga talk. So tonight I was like, let me go ahead and listen in for a few minutes. And I listened in for a few minutes. Now, honey, he got Elvis the Cannibal, the Indigenous African Kru Tribesmen that masquerades as a Liberian. He calls himself a Liberian, but he's not. Americo Liberians and any Liberians, they are immigrants to Africa. They were the immigrants of that land. They're the okay, what I'm saying is the indigenous Africans there, a lot of them are cannibals. They stole the country, ruined it, turned it inside out, upside down, round and round, and then stole the identity of these people as well. They masquerade around calling themselves Liberian. Now, I told you guys that Elvis people, the tribesmen, the cannibals, they ended up, because over there, a lot of them believe in cannibalism and stuff. They ended up shooting and eating the Americo Liberian leaders, because in their culture, they believe that you absorb the enemy's power by eating them raw. Okay, y'all know this shit is out on Vice. Just go look at it, okay? So he's on a panel. And I kept doing these videos, and I'm like, y'all need to be educated about who these Liberians are, whatever. And people started looking into it for themselves, like Mr. Jonathan. I'm impressed. He pulled it up. And he's like, well, what about this? He's talking to Elvis. Elvis thinking, because initially when he was going on a panel, he knew that we weren't aware of the history of the Liberians, that he was a fake Liberian masquerading as a Liberian. He ain't nothing but an indigenous cannibal African that stole the country, ruined it, and masquerading around, stole the people identity too. But now people is up on the shit. And they over there questioning him, and he is defending his cannibal people, honey. Do you know this clown sat up there and said the the Americo Liberians funded the war against themselves? He is saying, he refused to admit that they ruined the country. He said the people is living better. But now I done showed y'all videos where the people saying when the American Liberians were there ruling the country, it was so much better. I told y'all this wasn't nothing but a little snake boy slithering around y'all. A super caduper big liar. Lord of have mercy. Do he lie? The boy lie his ass off. I wouldn't be surprised if his nose is longer than his fucking foot. So Jonathan over there grilling them, honey. I want to tune in though. I'm listening and eating. Okay, we're not gonna put it up on the screen because Kyler gonna he's gonna report it. Okay, he's a little bitch acting ass guy. So we're gonna listen to it from audio. Okay, let's see if they're still talking about it. Ooh, I say that's right. Grill them.
They're a military coup out of the blue. Most people didn't expect it.
I'm gonna rewind this a little. Rewind it just a little.
Or listen to information from somebody that deals with either two of those. You get me? Yeah, and the bottom line is that's what I try to tell people right there. I said these young guys are watching that, right? They know I know or something like that. No, it's not gonna happen unless you come from a poor or weaker country, Even any African
Marshall City Town, Marshall Liberian. Look at Marshall.
Yeah, Marshall Liberian and Marquette County. Marshall was a Liberian settlement, in Boston territory.
Say no damn city, bro.
There's new development going over there right outside the airport.
Yeah, so I mean, there's development, bro.
Most
Now, I want y'all to know, Carla has been lying. I told you he's a scammer. Excuse me, I'm eating too. Carla has been lying. He'll tell you that it's so beautiful, whatever, until Elvis step and start lying, and then Carla get irritated and then start telling the truth.
Smell no taste. That was an area right there. That's really nice, you know. So the bottom line is, yeah, but those some of them were American Liberians, some were civilized people that lived in America for years, turning back. That's another thing. People keep saying American Liberians. The Liberians that lived in America, born in America, come back. Some Liberians, like my guy that I met over there, he said I was born in Newark, but I'm back in Liberia, right? And he talked.
Now that fat fucking mouth motherfucker Carla, he ain't nothing but a big goofy liar. He said there's some Americo Liberians born in America. Bitch, we know that. Duh. They've been here since the 1820s, you fucking retard. When we speak of who the Liberians are, it is not African indigenous tribesmen like Elvis. They're not Liberians. They wasn't incorporated into shit. They was just allowed to be educated over there and work for them. He gonna tell me they were incorporated as if the people was like, come on, we're gonna make you partner. No, they didn't. Lying ass motherfuckers. And Carla is a true scammer and a liar. But he gonna lie to you because he wants you to go there. See, when you educate yourself and you start reading about this shit yourself, you're gonna find out Carla is just as worse as Elvis. See, Elvis, that's his people he lying about. They're savagery. They're savage-minded and snakes. That's why you can go look up why a savage who believe in eating humans and sacrificing people call himself a Christian, because they believe in covering up that, masking that behavior with the Christian cloth. But Carla, that little scandalous ass nut, he lied to the black Americans who he called him. Okay, wait, now hold on. He's masquerading too as one of us. Carla cosplay Black America. He's not really a Black American. He's Barbadian. Okay, he slipped up and said the shit to me. But listen, we all know that they got Americo Liberians born there. Don't be so fucking retarded dumb. The people had migrated there way back in the 1820s. Duh. What I say is the African indigenous tribesmen of Africa is not Liberians. They were not incorporated into Liberia, not making them partners or anything. They just allowed them to come and work for them, do low-level positions. Now, some of the people were kind enough, the Americo Liberians, to take on their children and say, give me the children, we're going to educate the children. The women actually took the people's children and educated them, like Johnson, that female president. That's why she got the name Johnson, because she was adopted by them. And you know what? She turned on them. She was adopted by them, raised by them, educated by them. They brought her ass here to go to the HBCUs and all that here. And she turned on them. She said it wouldn't have been no war if the Americo Liberians had treated the indigenous African cannibal tribes with more respect. Now, wait a fucking minute. You telling me somebody who came and built the country had to fight them people off, the cannibals off and shit, had to stop them from selling other people and all this old shit, and they built up a country, they'd have to let the indigenous people be involved in their country? But they can't say, no, you guys stay over there, we're going to stay over here. Well, now, bitch, are you crazy or what? What? That's not even making sense, honey. Listen. This guy is up there defending his cannibal tribesmen while he calling himself a Liberian and he's not a Liberian. Child, he up there defending them. He's saying the craziest shit like they funded the war against themselves. Child, let's listen. And Carla caught himself. He was like, no, your people, blah, blah, blah. Then he caught himself. And Elvis keeps talking about the country improving. The people are much happier. That's not true, because he would be there. You know, Elvis don't ever plan on going back there ever. He despises his own people. But let me tell you the moves he making. He doing that Johnson, that woman president. He trying to make moves like her, get up under the Black Americans so that he can copy us, fill us out, and take on our personality traits and stuff and how we think. Because this is what his people did. Fill us out. The fucking snake slithering around. This is what those indigenous African cannibal tribesmen did to the Americo Liberians when they welcomed them into the country. They slithered, they smiled, they studied them and took on their personality and all that, and then they killed them, shot them and ate them, and then contacted the American president as though they are the Liberians. Do you know the American government? They said to the American government, we need your help. We are your stepchildren. So the white man was like, all right, we're going to help them out because, we did enslave them and shit like that. We're going to help them out, like, continue. Because, the Americo Liberians had cut the white man hand out of the game long time ago. But when they killed off the Americo Liberians, they in turn contacted the white man and started begging for money. Well, they gave them over $55 million, Jonathan. Don't let Carla Lioness talk to you either. That motherfucker is a slithering snake like Elvis. He's a liar too. They gave those people, the dope president guy, over $55 million. Do you know they said, the tribesmen said the war started like the Johnson president, that female woman, where if they would have treated the indigenous Africans with more respect, it wouldn't have started a war. They just wanted to be able to hold political positions and stuff. Okay, so when they got the office, took the country, stole it, killed the people, and then ate them to so-called absorb their power, do you know the Samuel Doe guy got in position and he hired all his own kind of people? He did the same shit the Americo Liberians did, right? That's why you hear Elvis saying he's not a fan of them. He did the same shit. Okay, number 2. What was I saying? This shit is so sad. A bridge. That's all you can harp about is him building a bridge and a road, and he got over $55 million. Y'all still was being funded by U.S. aid. What the fuck are you doing with the money? Because according to what a lot of y'all say, $20 in Africa is a whole lot of money. So if you get millions and you're in Africa, oh my gosh, that's so like way more than enough to build up your country. But they can't because they're African savages. They don't care about nothing like that. They look at the country. They shit all over the place. They just do all kind of insane in the membrane shit. And you do know there's such a disease you can catch from eating bush meat. It fuck with the brain. Now think about that and think about the ones that's cannibals. Anyway, let's listen, y'all, because I was like, ooh, Jonathan grilling up. Get up, Jonathan. Let's see.
Right? He talks like regular brother from America.
Carla is a liar.
Let me the rest right say.
Don't believe anything he say. He didn't went over there and ate the fucking food and drank the Kool-Aid and ate the. He didn't bite the apple. He fucking gobbled the apple up, meaning he ate the food. And I showed y'all the many times on the video how those people poison the food by going around all the restaurants, the eatery, the places where they eat, and paying people to put blood in the food and drinks. Come on, look that shit up now. Come on.
She called Jackson and said, yeah. He goes, yeah, I remember watching you on Diners for years, man. He said, yeah, I thought I'd meet you over here when I heard you was here. I was like, talking over. And he got land inherited from him, and he has all these farms and everything like that. But what I'm saying is, now he basically has a farm. He's employing people, just like Great African doing that. Can you call Great African? So he lived in a Congo man's life. Him and Great African, they got farms, and the people working for them were the local people and everything like that. But they don't get no flack. They're elite class now. You got native people who are buying land, building houses, building bottom line is this: if you got people like Elvis still making it seem like, oh, the Congo people did this, what about the people now? Now the people who are coming here developing, like the owner of the Calabas, owner of the Oak Tree, native Liberians that lived overseas, got education, and coming back and they're doing spectacular things. Yeah, that's good. Who's saying that's bad? So the narrative, the MC.
Wait a fucking minute. Hold on. Doing wonderful things. Like what? That motherfucking place still low down, filthy, dirty. You hear me? I don't even know how you motherfuckers go over there and can have the audacity to sit down and eat at a restaurant. You should be smelling that shit all in the air.
Like the Congo man's culture and pattern has rubbed off because the success of Liberians are not complaining about the Congo people. You're the one that keep bringing it up. We don't sit around complaining about it. Right now, what we complain about is the current government.
This is a motherfucking lie. All the Liberian people do. Those fake Liberians, by the way, not the real, actual Liberians that's descendants of chattel slavery here in America. And Elvis said, the Americo Liberians is not Americans because they left before America made blacks descendants of slaves citizens. That motherfucker try to find all kind of ways to cover up for their savagery. Listen, you retarded, human-eating, disgusting freakazoid snake. He's a dwarf, by the way. That's our people, and I don't give a fuck what y'all call us. They descend from chattel slavery in America, like my people. They just left. Their descendants, they kept contact, close contact. They didn't fuck with you people like that. Okay, they're not all entangled with y'all like Elvis will try to make you think. They didn't fuck with them. They didn't engage with them. You had very few that intermarried for citizenship shit like that. Very few. Very. Now, ask me today, do the savages who call themselves natives, do they go where the Americo Liberians are here in America today? Do they go and meet with them and sit with them and live among them and all that? Hell no. It's a small group of Americo Liberians here in America. And they are disgusted by Elvis people, African indigenous natives to Africa, the cannibals, masquerading as them. I'm talking tethering to the 1,000 degree. Ain't that some shit? When a motherfucker steal your land, but not only steal a land, but steal your whole identity and masquerade as you. Now that's some shit for you. I don't know what to say about that. I'm thinking maybe the Americo Liberians should change their name. Listen, he said they're happier now. Listen. Y'all motherfuckers better wake up and learn about them people. The Americo Liberians, they ought to write a book about this shit. This is some crazy shit right here. The African cannibal is on a panel defending his people to the core, baby. Now remember, Carla goes over there. He done married one of them cannibal tribesmen women. So, he be back and forth on this side. No, your people. And then he got a wife over there. And he trying to get citizenship and do whatever. So then he'll jump on Elvis' side. Yeah, that's right. They built a bridge. You dumb motherfucker. Baby talking 60-something year old. Listen. They got over 55 million when a Doe president, a cannibal president, was in office. What the fuck did they do with the money? A bridge? Stop. You always say they're building a bridge. Cut that bullshit out. Over 55 million plus many more millions from U.S. aid. What the fuck are they doing with the money? You don't know what to do with the money. It's like giving a 7-year-old $10 million. That's what it's like. No comprehension at
But they're
all.
not doing. That's what we're complaining about. That's all of that. Everybody's using the same sort of pattern of development. Get education, go overseas for a little while, you know. Carla, you heard what Edward Snow said. Edward Snow said he don't want this government to run in Liberia. So they're gonna stall everything in this government just so they can get back in power. It's a joke. What do you mean get back in power? Edward Snow in the Senate.
Okay, so this is something. When all these people leave and go get educated in America and Europe, they get a degree and they don't want to go back. Why would they go get a degree and go back to that shithole? Why would they do that when they can stay where they at and make a lot of money in a better life for themselves? Are you hearing that? You want those people to go get educated, get a degree, be in a position to make a lot of money and take care of themselves and family and where they got things at hand that they need. You want them to uproot themselves again and go back to a poor place where people mindset is savagery all day long. So so-called help, I'm not understanding that equation. I don't think that's going to work out. I mean, the minute they get gone, get in a position to make some money, and remember, that's a whole lot of money to them, American dollars. They're not about to go back there. Are you crazy? I wouldn't go back. You don't know. I sent for my family. Get out of there. That don't make no sense when people say they go to another country, get educated to go back. That's not making sense. Why you can't educate your own people? The Americo Liberians, they educated their own people. You see what I'm saying? Why the fuck you can't educate your own people? What's going on here? There's no good universities over there in West African countries. What's going on? You think, I don't know. It's weird. Listen, the Hebrew Israelites in Israel, they educate their own people. They don't go to their schools. They educated their own people. They have their own schools right on their little land area. They educate their own children. They don't have to worry about anybody mistreating their children or anything because they educate their own motherfucking children, which I believe in. I homeschool too to a certain degree. I believe in not letting other people be over your children and educating them and influencing them at a very young age. It's dangerous. Okay, number 2, you educate your own children. In the Black Hebrewites in Israel, Damon Israel, they teach their children how to speak Hebrew. Yeah, the Black Israelites over there in Israel speak Hebrew, and they speak another language as well, besides English. They educate their children in symphony, orchestra type of symphony. What they call them things, ensembles or something like that. They travel around the world in a symphony ensemble or ensemble. Yeah, they call it that, like an orchestra. And they are very talented and gifted. They are vegans. They don't fuck with meat. They grow their own food. They don't fucking go to grocery stores except for stuff like beans and rice. Because you know rice got to be grown in muddy whatever. And they live in a desert over there. Okay? They don't smoke, drink, none of that going on where they at. I'm very proud of them. They follow biblical principles. The men are leaders. You know why? Because they're men. They know how to treat their women and girls. They don't abuse their women and girls. Do you understand what I'm saying? The women are allowed to be effeminate women because they're not taking care of the whole household. They protect their women and girls. That's why you see them on video, they happy as fuck. I'm very proud of them. And another thing is they do not promote outside intermarrying or dating, which is a good thing. When you're trying to keep your culture intact and your people intact, you cannot do that. But the minute you do, you have messed up. Okay? Because to me, when you marry out, you actually marry out. Mean get the fuck out. Take your ass over there where you married into. You are no good over here. What's your point being right here? That goes for a woman or the man. The minute you marry out, get out. Okay? So let's continue, child. Yeah, honey. He used to go around and pursue. What the heck?
The senator. He's been a senator for a long time. We're talking about majority power.
Dave, that's typical African behavior.
What do you mean get back in power? He's in power. He's a senator. He's a sitting senator. What do you mean?
No, they want to stole the government because they want.
Edwin Snow literally supported the president that's in power right now. He campaigned for him. He's representing Bowman County. That's where the president's wife comes from. So he wasn't against the president. What are you talking about?
Edwin Snow goes to Brazil. He's a passport. He goes to Brazil. And also, right next to my guy Flo's place, right there in Area 2, Dave, Edwin Snow got his house right there. The house he got for right? It's still not finished after all these years, right? They got palaces. They've been building, down there. They've been getting money building. Like, they got so many incomplete mansions in Liberia. You can probably go buy one. Jonathan Edwin Snow, man, it's unreal. You see all these abandoned mansions that they never completed all over the place.
Dave, you act like you know Edwin Snow. Do you even know how he got prominence in Liberia? You know his history?
No politics, he's in the bread.
Edwin Snow was the youth chairman of the NPFL. He married Charles Taylor's daughter.
Hold on, let me tell you this as well. I heard this retarded motherfucker, this cannibal human eater, on Dinah's show earlier today. He says to the black American brother, well, yeah, you speak pretty well. You sound pretty intelligent, okay. Huh? Bitch, what the fuck are you saying? Are you saying that black Americans don't speak pretty well or whatever? We don't know how to hold conversations like your people? Bitch, you the only savage one. You're a savage. Y'all lawless. Y'all eat people shit all over the ground everywhere and all that sling shit all over to each other when you're mad and shit. We don't do that shit. Fuck on 7-year-olds and think it's normal. Make child soldiers. We don't do that shit, sweetheart. What is he? I was like, boy, this thing really got a problem. That thing is cuckoo. Okay? Listen. Sitting up there trying to tell black people we like him. Baby. We don't do what y'all do. We don't think like y'all. We don't do anything that you do. And we're certainly not connected to you biologically. That shit was bred out long before I was born, and others too. Child, take a seat. Africans, they had I've told y'all many times, they started having to enslave us children. And this is for all the Africans that were sold around the world, their descendants. They were all having the slave master's children, baby, biracial children, and biracial children, and biracial children, you understand what I'm saying? So the white man blood and the natives, they was mixed with the native all through us. We ain't no motherfucking African. We have some African lineage, some of us, white lineage, and native lineage. And in other countries, they got their mixtures. Take a fucking seat. We're nothing like you.
He married Charles Taylor's daughter, or Charlene Taylor.
I think it's gross personally. If I find out that you eat humans and you do all that kind of stuff, I just can't hold any more conversations with you. Because in my mind, I'm going to be thinking savage.
All right. And he became a representative in Liberia. He was the managing director of LPRC, became a senator for Bowman County. He's a boss man from Riverside County. You don't even know Edmonds, though. Just talk.
Down his that wall he built, right? Separate property. He said it's like 7 inches over his property. That's a nice wall. It's got to come down.
We don't give a fuck about who's who. We asking what the fuck y'all did with all them millions upon millions upon millions upon millions of dollars because the country is still in shambles, literally.
I was like, damn, man. Edward Snow, he said he built that for his ex-girlfriend. A beachfront property mansion. Only in Liberia, man, can you build a beachfront property and everything like that? Because he has a place called Imani Village. Have you ever heard of Dave? Imani Village? In there too. That's my guy Flo. That's his place, you know. Always stay there. Yeah, it's really nice, man. People rent it out when I get rent out a villa. That's why I usually stay. Now I got a house. I don't have to stay anymore. I got a house.
Since that coup never took place, where do you think Liberia will be right now?
Liberia will have companies listed on the New York Stock.
That's the thing. That's the thing.
Carla.
Right.
Thank you.
Elvis.
Tell Carla shut up, please.
Jonathan, I've
You're a
said
liar.
it before, you guys don't, Carla don't listen to me. I never supported a coup. I supported more integration of the native in the political structure
See, that wasn't a question. This little bitch can't answer a simple question.
of the country. I don't support
How
that.
do the natives go with
Carla,
the
let me
social-
explain. Let me let Jonathan hear this once and for all. I've said this multiple times. But when Carla gets emotional, you want to be disrespectful, I go there with you.
culture.
That's when I go.
See, he don't want to answer that question that Jonathan asked. He said, how do you think the country would be if the coup never happened? This boy going all around talking about something else. He ain't even answering that question directly because he don't want to give the shadow descendants of American slaves no kind of credit for building Liberia. This bitch is insane.
But I say, you know what? Well, look, Carla, he asked me a question. Give me 30 seconds to answer, bro.
Economic and then political always last, man. You know.
Carla, listen. The man that I was talking to, his name is Deacon Carla. He's one of the last surviving people who were instrumental in what happened with the rights right. He appears on Focus on Liberia. We have conversation on the show. He's on the radio.
I hope Jonathan asked, did they eat the Americo Liberians? Because there was war, and they say that's what they do with the enemies, right?
People are listening to us all over the country. We have a conversation. And he said that he met the president. He negotiated with the president and the attorney general of the country. They wanted more inclusion. They wanted to test the democratic system by fielding a candidate from their own political party to become mayor of Monrovia. That was the first test. Initially, President Tauber agreed to allow new political parties who were mostly made up of quote-unquote native people to run a candidate in that mayoral election. And then he canceled it. He canceled the election, so they never had a chance to test the political power and become more inclusive and become more free and have more agency in the political space in the country. Those are the people that I'm on their side.
Inclusive, huh? Become more inclusive. Listen, motherfucker. If I build a country up and you live 25 fucking miles away, bitch, what does that mean? That mean I have to include you in my fucking country? You got some motherfucking nerves. Do you hear this shit?
Because they were agitated for it, it wasn't.
And why wasn't the dang on country, that area built up as a country way before the Americo Liberians came? Because you were savages that lived in the fucking bush. That's what you do. That you were happy like that. But all of a sudden, American Liberians come. Now you want to take their country. You want to be a part of the country in partnership with them. Like, they don't owe you that. Huh. My gosh, the audacity.
Why they didn't kill anybody? They didn't commit any coup. The coup happened when an unknown person named Samuel Doe and his acolytes, did a military coup out of the blue. Most people didn't expect it. That's what.
Mm-hmm. When the shit happened, it surprised everybody. Y'all gonna listen to Tolbert, I think his name was Tolbert, the American Liberian president at the time, when the first war happened. His daughter talks about it. Well, look up American Liberian President Tolman daughter or something like that. And she tells us about it. At the event, she speaks. It's only the Americo Liberians. Because if the fake Liberians, the cannibals, was there, they would have a fucking fit. But I'll tell you where they were. They was in a chat box listening to her speech. And they was going the fuck off on her. Okay? They was making up all kinds of shit about, like, those people do not like the Americo Liberians. Ooh, child, but they stole their country and their identity. If you don't like them so much, why you call yourselves Liberians and you not Liberian?
That's what the whole thing came from. I never supported Senator killing people, putting people on the board. I never supported. That's not my point of view. My point of view is
You lying, putting them on a pole and do what you did after you shot them, baby. You ate them. You ate them. You passed them through the fucking village so that people can absorb the power, as y'all believe that's what happens when you eat somebody raw. This bitch skipped over that talking about put them on a pole.
the natives should have been more included in the decision making of the country, in the political structure of the nation. That's my point.
Hold on, let me swallow this. Oh my motherfucking goodness. Y'all hear this? Y'all hear the mindset of these people? This is the mindset. They are fucking savage. They will take. Yo, go ahead and bring your ass to Africa and build, okay? They're gonna take your shit. Period. That is their mindset. To fucking take it. That's their mindset, boo. Even some of them will let you, they'll see you building and doing good. They'll step back for a while and watch you blossom and blossom and blossom until they had enough waiting. And they're going to take your shit. This ain't the only people this happened to of black people that migrated back to Mama Africa. They sold us. They kidnapped us, the white people. But we back home, Mama Africa. People who very uneducated and unaware of the true history that Africa sold them into slavery to work people's fields. They've been selling their people way before Atlantic slave trade, okay? But he just sat up here and said, demandingly, that these people had to let them be a part of the country and make decisions of the country. And why they have to let you do anything? You didn't. Oh my goodness, child. This is their mindset. Go ahead, keep running y'all asses over there.
My point, and eventually, as those elections took place in Monrovia for the mayor election, other things would have happened.
It's almost like moving into a gangbanging neighborhood, right? And never expecting, you don't expect that they gonna steal your car and break in your house and shit. And harass you and all that old shit. That's foolish of you to be that way. How can you dare move in an area that's a gangbanging area and you don't think they're gonna get at you? Listen, there was a lady who did that. It was a Haitian lady. She moved in this neighborhood with her 12-year-old son. It's real news now, you can look it up. And she moved in that very, very, very bad neighborhood, maybe because it was cheap or whatever. Her and her 12-year-old moved there. She kept her 12-year-old inside the house. When they left, she walked him to school and back home. She made sure he didn't go get caught up in gangs. That was her goal, to keep her baby off the street, out of the gang. Oh, but the young gangbangers was like, we got a new nigga in the neighborhood and what's up? You know, that's one of us. He got to up these numbers with us. So how we gonna get to know him and see where he from, who he repping, right? They never could catch him alone because the mother, he was always with her. So y'all know what happened. You know where I'm going with it. They waited till they saw them come back home one day after so long, and they kicked the fucking door in and did all kind of horrible shit to them. It was so bad, I can't even speak of it. I'm not going to even speak of what they made that boy and his mother do. And then they tried to kill him afterwards, but they survived, thank God. And they were able to point them out. The moral to the story is, don't move around people that you see are dangerous and you think they'll never get at you. Sometimes they'll wait it out, just watching and watching and watching. But one day, okay, you can't do that. I used to tell my mom that. You can't move in a gangbanging neighborhood and expect that they're not going to recruit your sons. That's foolery. I would never, listen, I wouldn't have moved in no gangbanging neighborhood with my baby. Shit, I would have packed up and went anywhere before I made that move. I would have packed up and live in a fucking car somewhere else before I go move in a gangbanging neighborhood with my child. A male child. Matter of fact, girls too. That wasn't happening. Okay? And that's what it is. It's the same thing. The Americo Liberians moved there among savage people, savage-minded people. And they thought, okay, we'll be all right. They actually got comfortable. We'll be okay. But listen, lo and behold, even after decades upon decades upon decades, they still got at them. Okay? Because those kind of people, they take what they want. And Elvis, he's one of those kind of people. Do you hear the mindset? Him defending that behavior? He didn't say, well, it wasn't our country to start with. And if we wanted to have a country, we could have did it way before the Americo Liberians even came to our land. We could have had it, but we just wanted what we saw them build. So they didn't want to let us in to take part and become president of it legally. So we just took it. That's his mindset. That's a motherfucking savage bitch. For me to have a mindset, I'm entitled to somebody else's shit. I just can't even comprehend it. Like, if you want something, you go build it up from the ground yourself. So now y'all getting to see the real him. He ain't never once said, well, the American Liberians did a great job building up in spite of having, to fight off the tribes and shit, because it was his people they were fighting off and shit. He never said one good thing about the American Liberians. He don't even want to admit they built the fucking country. And believe me, he's not by himself. They all think like that.
Other things would have happened, then the country would have been better. We would have been better gelled together as a nation.
Remember, he talking about the part where he said, if the American Liberians would have let them take part in political ruling the country and all that, it would have been better, and we would have been what?
At the same time, though, Elvis, it's
a legitimate question, right? Now,
you didn't answer the question, though, Elvis.
Thank you, Jonathan. He didn't answer the question, babe, because he's not trying to answer that
Check
question.
this out. Let me answer the question, right? Now,
His fuckity mouth collar needs to shut up because he's a liar, a lying scammer.
Young people, students, and people with no life experience, no experience whatsoever. Do you understand Liberia's position in Africa and the world right there? That means years of diplomatic channels, all stuff like that, connections to different institutions around the world, all stuff like that. You're trying to hold all that together and basically develop a small, poor, third world country and everything like that.
Paula, they were running for mayor.
Hold
Not
on.
president, not even senator, mayor.
Name all that diplomatic capital and stuff like that was built up over a century or that. So they were supposed to hand that over to people who had no experience.
There you go, Jonathan. Paula is saying that these people should not be involved politically.
I never said that. I never said that. I said, look, the other day on the show that if the American Liberians or whatever, Liberia was founded for the black diaspora to settle in Africa. That was the purpose. They never really.
That's right, baby. Let me tell you something. Those white people, they dropped them black people off, and they weren't about to take them back with them now. Don't be so stupid. You're like, look, we already stopped over here. Y'all couldn't do that. I know they got mosquitoes right here and shit there to bite you up too. A lot of them died now. A lot of them died with that mosquito real stuff. And then the white folks was like, if these black people right here can maintain somehow, then y'all got to figure this shit out. But you're not about to get back on that boat and come back to America. Do you understand me? All right? We're going to help you in every way possible. But you ain't about to get back on that boat and go back to America. Okay, y'all going to be the pioneers of this shit. Okay? But you ain't getting back on that boat. Just call us and let us know what you need. We'll send you whatever you need. But they wasn't about to take them back. Because the white folks wanted their country to themselves. They have no more use for black people to be walking around their country and being in their society. You know white people don't play that shit. White people like to be around themselves. Okay? And so listen. They had no choice but to stay and fight. A lot of times I'd be like, oh, how could you stay there? Well, you got to remember, they had no choice but to stay there because the white folk wasn't taking them back. Period, point blank. Now, they called them and they did what they had to do to survive. They fought back. A lot of them died over there with the Mosquitoville stuff. But maybe they learned something from the savages, how to survive, because them savages were surviving in them bushes. Okay, when they first went over, just a bunch of bushes, but they were surviving, so they figured out, maybe they learned something from them, how to survive with living in Mosquitoville. Okay, so they got to the point where they began to, do better and do better and do better. Building up a country, the white man sending money galore, all that, and they just building. Let me tell you, the white people had high hopes that they were going to build that country up real good. And they had high hopes in those black people because their hope was that once it get built up to a good point, they were going to send all them motherfucking black people there in America. They were going to force their ass there. That's where we all would have ended up. You're best to know it, in Liberia. Once they had built that country up, that's what them white folks' hopes was. That is why they kept sending money, because they had hopes that that country would become, a leading nation in Africa and doing good. They promoted the hell out of that country. That's why them white folks, that's why the queen and all that shit was going there. They were going to the queen palace and, just all that. They were making that country somewhere that black people would have liked to be a part of. That is what they had planned, that we would all end up going there once it was built up pretty good. Okay? They even promoted that in the Caribbeans and in Haiti, they had Haitians and Caribbeans going. And once it was built up, a lot of people would have definitely went. A lot of black people would have definitely went. But again, unfortunately, it didn't get to that point. And those Americo Liberian people like, oh my gosh, no, I don't want to go back there. When Trump got in office, he tried to send them back. One of the people was having a fucking fits. Okay, they was having fits. The black American people had to step in and step up for them and give them some push and some support. Like, don't send them back over there with them savage folks. We don't know nothing about them folks. Them folks ain't our folks like that. I wonder how they feel today, though. You know what I'm saying? I would love to hear some of them sit down and talk about how they feel today about going back over there and what's like would they do with it, like they have those people tethering to them, calling themselves Liberians and they're not. That shit is super crazy. I would like to hear what the American Liberians have to say, but they are not as they don't have our mindset because they've been gone over there. They born and raised over there and stuff like that. They don't have our mindset. Like Black America give pushback like a motherfucker, even in the face of unfair fights. We've always been given pushback. But the American Liberians, they don't have our um they don't have us in them. They they just sit quietly and watch. They don't say nothing. They remind me of the native people. They just sit quietly and they don't say shit. Like make us aware that these people are tethering you. They're masquerading as though they are you. Why not speak on that? Why not go to Travis Smiley or some fucking body and do some talk shows and shit? We want to know why you letting these people get away with that? If it was my country, I'm a born and raised Black American, of course. If it was my country, I'm gonna tell the world what they doing, how they tethering us. They stole a country, but they gonna steal our identity too and tether around like us. I would let people know they not us. They're tethering us to the. It's crazy. I would let people know. I would let the world know. Let's continue to listen.
They never really knew how to integrate Native people.
Is that a problem, Colin? If you were a Native man, would you still fight it? They never had a plan for your integration?
Elvis, I'm going to make your point for you, right? At the same time, right? Here's the thing. There's a problem that will happen, right? I'm going to give it to you. America, they thought they could be like America, right? America, when they brought immigrants in, right? These are people who left their native land and came.
Colin, I want to let Jonathan talk because Jonathan is grilling him and he's gonna get Elvis to the point of admitting that they're savage minded and they don't know shit about running or building a country. Colin doesn't want Jonathan to get to that point. That's why he cut him off. Talking about I'm gonna answer the question for you and all that. Because he's a scammer. Okay. He's a lying scammer. He just as worse as Elvis, a slithering snake.
Land and came to a new land across the Atlantic, right? Now you're an American, right? What Liberians wanted to do was bring native people and surrounding people to Liberia, but you cannot do that because they're not coming from overseas. They're already in that land that you now call Liberia. So they don't feel the obligation to assimilate into what you call a republic called Liberia and become Liberians. Now, what do you do about the native people? Now they're basically living in this republic that they don't feel they're a part of. Now, my thing was, if they would have, the American Liberians were really smart, right? They would have saw that. I think they underestimated natives. In 1945, after World War II, right? I think the American Liberians should have came back to America. I think that's what I think. If they were not going to become the majority and stuff like that, and just separate the country and cut the country in half and let the natives build their own government and their own thing for themselves and whatnot, give them most of the country and you just keep the coastline.
Give them most of the country? What the fuck? Give them most of the country. And did you hear what Carla just said? Hold on, I gotta laugh at that. So Carla is agreeing with Elvis the Cannibal and his people. He's saying that because the native, because the Americo Liberians were not, their numbers weren't growing, only their country, I guess he's saying they were outnumbered by the native savages because their numbers wasn't growing. They should have built the country up the way they did, right? And then hand it over nice and smooth and easy. No chores, just free. Hand it over, majority of it, to the native African indigenous native slave cannibals. And then they should have left just a little bit for themselves, I guess if they want to visit or something, I don't know. And then they should have returned back to America. Now, mind you, they are no longer, when they left, they're not considered American citizens or whatever. They would be foreigners in this country as they are today. But he's saying they should have left and came back to America as a collective. People, does that make any fucking sense at all? Who's winning in that situation? You just said these people went back home to Mama Africa, built up a country, and just want to live back under Mama Africa. But because the native savages doesn't want them to allow them, they're just savage and lawless. They have to give it up and go back to America and face harsh racism. Even though America dropped them off back in Mama Africa, where they faced serious, dangerous, savage-minded people that practice cannibalism, child sacrificing, great systematic rapes, and all of that. That didn't make no sense what he just said. You hear this? So what's his purpose for going to Liberia? If he thinks that, talking about he gonna build the Afristan, but he's saying, listen, well, okay, when you build your Afristan there in Liberia and build it up nice and it's flourishing, yeah, flourishing, doing great. You have plans on incorporating the people in Liberia, the native pagans, because it's no longer going to be your country or your, Afristan. Once you do that, they're going to be running shit. That's like saying when America stole this country, they didn't call themselves Indigenous Americans and the names, Choctaw, and they didn't take on the native. They didn't take on the natives' identity. They stole the country and changed the name and all that to what they made it into what they wanted it to be. That's what usually happens when people steal a country or conquer a people in a country. They change the shit up. But Elvis and them didn't do it because they can't. They don't think like that. They took the country and stole the people's identity and then was perpetrating, masquerading as the people, calling the American government, talking about, we are your stepchildren. Remember us? We need you. The people sending them millions upon millions. Okay, I've had enough talking about that. That shit disgusting. That's some psycho shit right there. That's a whole movie. That's some serious psycho shit. So anyways, would Carla allow that for his Afristan though? Just give it up. In that case, why if you would allow that, why even go there and build anything when you know you're gonna have to hand it over to the native peoples? Or else they're gonna take it because they lawless savages. I want to say this before I press play. On Dinah's panel earlier, they was trying to, Kala replayed it earlier on his panel as well. The young man talking about how the white man, how the indigenous people enslaved the Europeans when they came to America. And they were like, oh, well, big black, big dumbass. Well, what happened? Because now the white people ended up enslaving them real bad and wiping them out. He just can't wrap his mind around that happening. I don't know why. Are you dumb or stupid, sir? Which one? Because clearly it's the same thing as the American Liberians. When they arrived in Africa, they were a very small number of people surrounded by many African indigenous cannibals. When the Europeans arrived to America, they were very few in number, just like the American Liberians. And they were surrounded by many, many, many native tribes. Okay? Same scenario, right? So when the Europeans arrived, they didn't know how to plant anything or grow food or anything. They come from the fucking mountains. Hunters. They knew nothing about farming. But the natives taught them about how to farm, how to grow food, and how to do other things. The climate, everything, the landscape. And so they had their own little area the natives gave to them and told them, don't come over here to this area. That's how nice they were to them. They helped them. They told them, don't come over here to this area, though. This is our area. Let's click over to the Americo Liberians. They arrived on scene. They were very few in number. Very, very few in number. And the natives there in Africa, I'm quite sure they eventually figured out a way to learn something from these people, how to survive the climate and the atmosphere of Mosquitoville, because indeed it is Mosquitoville even to this day. So I think a lot of them had died. Again, a lot of them. But eventually they learned, and I'm thinking they probably picked up some tips from the native people on how to survive Mosquitoville. Okay? Just like the Europeans picked up tips from the indigenous American tribes or First Nation tribes when they first arrived to America in very few numbers. Americo Liberians, when they first arrived in Africa in very few numbers, they also learned some things from the natives. They learned about the land. They learned about how to survive Mosquitoville. And probably some other things, nothing academic wise, because it wasn't about that, right? It wasn't about no academic shit. It was about, you know, everyday real life. Not no office workers and all that old dumb shit, that political stuff, all that old bullshit. But I'm talking they probably learned some things like the landscape, how to survive, how to grow food and stuff like that. Because you do know they have to grow their own food, right? You do know they had to learn how to, they ain't had no refrigerators. They had to figure some shit out. And I'm quite sure they learned some stuff from those African savages. Okay? And so it was the same way with the Europeans that arrived to America. They learned some stuff from the natives. Okay? The native people, the dude on the panel said that they enslaved the Europeans. I happen to not believe that. Okay? They may have, when you got the upper hand over people, sometimes people don't treat people so good when they got the upper hand over them. But at that point, the indigenous Americans had the upper hand. And when you look at Liberia, the indigenous Africans had the upper hand. Okay, so the indigenous Africans they could have been mistreating the American Liberians or whatever. Who knows? We don't know, right? Because everything ain't documented. And so, either way it go, these two groups that arrived to foreign countries in small numbers, they ended up advancing more than the native people. The Europeans ended up advancing in America more than a American indigenous, or let's not say American, but more than the First Nation tribes. And the Americo Liberians ended up advancing more than the native indigenous Africans that was there. Okay. Y'all follow what I'm saying, right? You see where I'm going with this. The Europeans, they had what you call money to, or let's not say money, but they had wealth enough to make trading pretty good with the indigenous First Nations. Meaning they had, it was like they had gold, whatever the currency was, they had something that they were willing to trade, that indigenous First Nations were willing to take for trading. And that was lovely. Probably was alcohol. And so the Europeans even had some of their women they hoard out. I kid you not. They hoard them out to the First Nations. They gave them alcohol. They traded alcohol as well. So let's go to Liberia. I don't know what they had to trade with these indigenous Africans or whatever, but they had some things to trade because whatever the currency was, the Americo Liberians were able to get the indigenous Africans to do things for them for something. You know, it wasn't for free. They had them carrying them stuff like that, like they were kings and stuff. You know how you put the sticks on the shoulder on one man and the other shoulder on the other man, and they carrying the king down the street and shit like that? Yeah, they had them doing stuff like that. So they had something in their possession. Everything ain't documented. We would have to talk to the American Liberians about that. They had something in their possession that the native indigenous Africans wanted and liked and wanted more of it. And that's how they were able to get these people to work for them and all that kind of stuff. All right. They had things to trade as well that the native people of Africa wanted. Now, let's look back at the Europeans and then First Nation again. First Nations. So the Europeans began to excel and grow because of the trade, the currency, whatever they was trading with. They began to excel and grow. They learned the land pretty good because the natives, the indigenous First Nations had taught them about it, how to survive the land and stuff like that. And they began to excel and grow and grow. What I mean by grow, those few numbers of people, their community was doing well. Okay. They probably had traded and bought more land, more space, more space. You get it? They were able to start their own farms and stuff like that in their space. And then next thing you know, they sent for more of their people to come. Let's glance over at the Americo Liberians. They learned some stuff from the native indigenous Africans. The landscape, how to farm, how to grow food, how, whatever, where to get food from and all of the bullshit, stuff like that. And they traded with them to the point they may have traded and gotten more and more and more land, which they did, obviously, right? That's how come their country grew. Because they were trading with them, and as they traded and traded with them, they bought more and more space from them, land, right? To the point their territory stretched out. They were able to farm their own farming, grow their own food, farm their own food, and have space to continue to do whatever. They knew the landscape. They knew how to farm. They knew how to do whatever, whatever. All right. Think about, even they had to think about drinking water. I'm quite sure they learned how to get fresh drinking water from the natives, right? Because the Europeans, if they knew, they had to learn it from the natives. Because, I mean, you learn from, okay, if I hit another land and I see some people there that's already there, and I got 50 people with me, And we over here, we like, okay, we're gonna stay over here. No, we come in peace. We're gonna stay over here. We're in a situation where we just need to live here for a minute. I'm a damn sure try to figure out from them how they get clean drinking water. How do you farm food? Where can we get food? Of course, I'm gonna figure. Yeah, okay, that's what trading is about. People didn't know how to speak each other's languages, but they happened up on each other, and they fucking learned the pigeon language came about. When two different languages come in contact and they get to babbling and kind of understanding each other. A pigeon language, okay? Pigeon dialects. So, anyways, the Europeans had begun to grow and they sent for more people to come, their people. And over in Liberia, the Americo Liberians had begun to grow and they sent over for more people. The Congo people, the Haitians, the Caribbeans that came, all right, their territory grew with more people upon arrival to Liberia. More people means more help, more hands to grow. Okay. And back over to the Europeans, they grew, they sent more people, more Europeans came. And here's the difference. They asked the boy or the young man, well, big black, well, how did the Europeans get to enslave them then? Big dumb shit. Here's the difference between the Europeans and the Americo Liberians. When the Europeans people arrived, they arrived with mass weapons of destruction, guns. Wasn't like arrows and spears. You can aim it from a distance and hit your target, wound the target, or even kill the target. The all the brothers that arrived was armed, was able to take arms with military mass weapons of destruction. Now that was a powerful weapon to the first tribes of America. I mean, just talking all over. That was powerful weapons to the First Nations of Indian, not Indian. They don't like to be called Indian. First Nations of people in America, because that was a powerful weapon where you could aim it, point it at somebody, hit your target and stuff from a distance. Okay, they didn't have a weapon to outdo that or even to match it. Okay, now you got to know they sent word back to their people and said, after slithering and watching the people for so long, acting like they friends with the people, smiling and shit, acting like, oh, we here to help. We friends. Of course they was ass kissing them because they was really snaking them. So if you snaking somebody, you want them to feel comfortable. You want to ass kiss them to the point of you make them think you're stupid, dumb, and slow. That's what diners do, by the way, when he's scamming. So they had the First Nations thinking that they were stupid, dumb, and slow people. But they were actually spies, slithering like snakes all around them. And because they were ass kissing them so heavily, oh yeah, they may have been being in what they call it? Indentured servants to the First Nation people. Because they want to get real close and make these people think they are not a threat at all. Because if the people even suspect they're a threat, you know what would have happened to the small number that showed up. They would have stumped them out, laid them out, and threw them back in the ocean. So their game was to play dumb, stupid, and lame, even to the point of being indentured servants to the First Nations. Isn't that the best way to spy on somebody? To learn the ins and out of somebody's territory and mindset and secrets? To become an indentured servant of theirs. But lo and behold, they were far from stupid, dumb idiots because they sent back word what was going on to the rest of the European family. And when that second load, a boat, a third load, who knows how many loads they hadn't showed up because they were growing in numbers. But when them other few boatloads of Europeans showed up and they all armed themselves, took arms, they knew the land by then, they knew how many, they knew where they would run, they knew everything about the First Nations of people because they played dumb and stupid to the point of even acting like they were the indentured servants of First Nations people. That is how the First Nations were captured. At least, the First Nations, like the first ones that was dealt with by the Europeans. They had more to come now. But you guys can't even phantom that in your heads because you're immigrants. You don't know our history. You can't phantom it. Well, Big Black, he's an immigrant Caribbean. Well, is that possible? They enslaved them though. Because baby, once they took over one or two, I'm quite sure at the time they took over two. Once they took over the coastal tribes, that was a wrap. Them natives probably was like, hey, we have some blue-eyed people. They want to whatever, because they all traded with each other. The First Nation, the tribes traded with each other, and they probably was like, hey, we have these blue-eyed people right here that we can sell them to be indentured servants. They probably sold them to the coastal tribes, because these people had to have a way to eye out and spy everything, the landscape, the people, how they move, where they go, what they do. They knew all of this. And they were able when their brothers arrived with the mass weapons of destruction, they were able to arm themselves and take, you know what I'm saying? And I guarantee it went down like this. The Europeans waited till they were asleep because they knew their sleep schedules too. They probably ain't had people that stay up at night, like watch guards, that stay up at night and watch out for the villagers because they at that point they had trusted the Europeans around them because they had been around them for a while. They trusted them. Eventually they let down their guards and trusted them, right? And boogie bang bang, they probably waited till they went to sleep, armed themselves, and went through that popping. Okay? Those Europeans turned out to be their worst enemy ever. They had a such thing called scalping. That's what they used to do to natives. They sculpted their scalp. They wore their hair in ponies. They would sculpt their scalp and get paid for however many scalps they sculpted from the natives and their children. Oh yeah, honey. Let's look at Liberia. So Americo Liberia, what happened with them? Oh, by the way, that's how the Europeans had an upper hand and they were able to take over a lot of the tribal first tribe nations in America, okay? Now let's look over back to the Americo Liberians. They had some people come, that the Caribbeans, the Haitians, more men, but not still pretty outnumbered, like the Europeans were. When the men arrived, though, when the Caribbeans and the Haitians arrived, they had no mass weapons of destruction. I wanted to tell you this, by the way. Let's go back over to the Europeans and First Nations. By the way, those mass weapons of destructions was very scary to those native indigenous people. They had never seen nothing like that before, and so what happened was that it was a weapon that can, aim at a target and take it down from a distance, and it had all of them was armed with it. So they had stories saying that they believed that um, the white men had superpowers, okay, and that they didn't think that they could operate the weapon that the Caucasian men had. Okay, so it was also very scary for the First Nation people. They didn't know what to think of that. Okay, all right, back over to the American Liberians. When they people arrived, they had some extra hands come in from Haiti and the Caribbean, but they did not have any type of mass weapon of destruction. Not at all. And it was still very outnumbered. So they continued to grow, but they were still outnumbered. And eventually, um, the native indigenous Africans who played stupid and dumb as well, even though they're savage minded, they're not that stupid and dumb to the point where they don't know how to be spies and get information and go back home and plot. That's exactly what they did, right? That's how they were able to take over and shit, because they spied it out first. All right, they had people they sent in to infiltrate. Go play like you a dummy and be their slave, the indentured servant, not slave, but indentured servant, and you're gonna come back and feed us the information. So the whole time they were being spied upon and watched very heavily. And they thought that the native people, they underestimated them. That's what I always say to my kid. Don't underestimate no motherfucking body. I don't care if it's a child, old person, or somebody in between that age bracket. Mm-mm. If you see the dumbest motherfucker, don't you think that they dumb. You see a motherfucker in a wheelchair, they may know how to walk. Or a slingshot, the arm in the slingshot. Child, please, I don't trust nobody. No, you handicapped. I don't get on the elevator with men. Even if they're in a wheelchair or with a slingshot out, the little arm thing. That could be all a lie, honey. No, thank you. I'll catch the next one. So, underestimate people. That's what Elvis did me on the panel. He kept ass kissing me so hard, and I was like, wait a minute, who is that guy? I don't like what he's doing. It's creepy and it's snaky. It's fucking snaky. I spotted him a long time ago. So that's what they did. That's what his people do. That's what he's doing to you guys on the panel. He's slithering and just feeding himself information about you guys. Aphrodite trying to tell you big dumbos that Aphrodite said, look, I've had enough of this dumb shit. I can see Elvis is fake and he don't fucking like you motherfuckers. You can't see this shit? Oh, no, he like us. Now, I don't know what's wrong with Kyla. I know he didn't have them cannibal dishes a lot and shit. The man all screwed. He just miscombobulated in every way. But something ain't right with him. All right? It's something ain't right with him. And you brothers need to stop just going along with that old guy and let him know the truth. Because Dollar Bill don't think highly of him either. We was in a back chat one time talking about Kyla. And Dollar Bill said, I don't want to see him, blah, blah, blah. Dollar Bill don't think highly of him. But anyways, let's continue. He even said, any man that go to Africa to get a woman is deprived. Clearly. All these beautiful women walking around this country, And you gotta bring your dumb ass to another country to get a woman? Anyway, y'all, listen. So the Americo Liberians, they had the numbers. They got a little increase with the Haitians and Caribbeans, but again, they did not have any mass weapons of destruction. Number two, the indigenous African people, they had inspired them out, inside out. They knew their every moves. They knew how they do things, how they think. They knew everything about them because they played the role of a dumb, lame, indentured servant. I don't know any better. I'm here to serve you. Yes, mama. Uh-huh. Yes, mama. You'd never trust a motherfucker like that. I'm here to protect you, Chantel. No, you not. I don't know you, bitch. Get gone. Protect shit. I got males in my family. Scooty, scoot, scoot. Goodbye. Bye-bye. They had to spy out the land and stuff. When I say the land, I'm talking about the territory of the Americo Liberians, how they move, how they do things, how they think. They spied them all out. They went back home to their tribesmen and told them the layout, how these people move and all that kind of stuff. So eventually when the people got tired of just waiting and waiting and waiting, they never inspired to be a part of Liberia. That was never something they aspired to do at all. They didn't want to be partners with you at all, you Americo Liberians. They wanted always to take over the country. That was always the plan, to take it over. Even if you would have had incorporated them into certain positions and all that, they still would have taken it over. And Elvis knows that. He's one of them. Even if they would have given them what Carla said, give them the majority of the country and you keep a little, they still would have took that little. You not understand this, sir. Sir, it's the mindset of the people. They're savage minded. Savage minded people are lawless. They don't have any laws over there like in America, all these fucking laws and stuff like that, right? They don't have that over there. Those people would have taken it. I don't care what you gave them and you're going to keep a little. They wouldn't have let you keep the little you would have thought you was going to keep. You have to understand. Oh, so anyway, before I go into conversation, that was how the Americo Liberians lost. They were outnumbered and they hired people to be indentured servants that spied on them. They underestimated another group of people. Never underestimate people. The lamest, nerdiest looking motherfuckers is not to be trusted. You know how they say the quiet ones always be the ones that, okay? One time they had a situation and it was a bunch of people out there and we all got into it and the police showed up and I was just standing quietly on the side just waiting for everything to be done. And the policeman gonna turn around, everybody hyped up and shit. He gonna turn around and say, okay, I'm gonna talk to you. Come over here, because you're the only one that's quiet and calm. Everybody looking was like, oh, no, what is you talking about? You don't know what you said. And he was like, what? He said, oh, that's what they say, too. You always gotta watch out for the quiet ones. That's right. Don't underestimate people. That's what happened. The American Liberians underestimated those African indigenous pagan slaves, pagan savages. When I say savages, they're lawless. They don't have any laws established. Okay? That was the first thing. They shouldn't even been there, period, in such an environment. around such people. But that's why they lost. Okay? Let's look back at the Europeans. The Europeans won over the First Nations in America because they had mass weapons of destruction. Now, I have to say, if you're going to go to somebody else's country, you probably should have some type of protection. You probably need to know how to defend yourself to the fullest or some type of military, okay, for protection. I mean, that's just common sense to me. If you don't got no protection, that's some crazy stuff. That's crazy. So, that's the difference. Yes, at one point, the Europeans played indentured servants to the First Nations. And the key word is they played indentured servants. And indentured servants is supposed to be the low class idiots, right? That just don't know nothing. Don't underestimate people. Well, they got off them boats with them mass weapons of destruction. Everybody went to sleep and shit. My. Anyways, that's how they won. That's how they had the upper hand, and all they had to do, a lot of them had learned the landscape by then, and all they had to do was go through there with their weapons, send for more brothers, which I'm quite sure they did, and go through there with their weapons, overtaking the people. Okay, it's not hard to grasp that concept. It's just that you guys are immigrants, and you don't know the history of America. Okay, you don't know the history. So that's how the Europeans over conquered the people of America, and that is how the Americo Liberians ended up being conquered. They had no protection, no weapons, no kind of protection. That shit is crazy when you think about it. Come on, you go to a whole nother. No, that's crazy, baby. That's like me moving to a country where it's a lot of crazy folks around, pagans and stuff, and it's just me and some people, like 60 of us, and we don't got no kind of protection or anything. Honey, I ain't about to do that. So that's what that was like. Okay, so what did we learn here? That if you're going to do something like that, you need to have a military with you. You need to have some form of knowing how to protect yourself or weaponry if you're going to do that make that kind of move. Now, I know in certain parts of Africa, they had the Asians, they bought up a good bit of Africa. And somewhere I had seen years ago, somewhere the Asians bought up a landmass and they built a whole city on it, luxury style too. And the Africans that were living in that area, they pretty much pushed them over in a ditch, literally. They were living in a ditch. I kid you not, literally. I'm going to have to look that up next time, okay? And the people was living outside the ditch right next to the luxury buildings and stuff. Electricity, wonderful city, beautiful city, had gates up and everything. And they built a military as well, a military base in the area for their army. So I can guarantee you it goes like this. When they're sleeping, they're going to have a barracks where some of the men stay up and watch, armed men, while others sleep, the community, because they know that they need protection if they're going to make moves like that. So I hope you guys learned something today from this video stream. You can't be moving like that without protection. But the Americo Liberians had no choice. I don't think they was aware that, the white men told them that we're going to bring you over there and we're going to set you up and give you money and all that kind of stuff. So you're not going to be, empty-handed. You can call us for anything. But the one thing I don't think they understood was you could never come back wherever we drop you off. You will not come back with us to America. We have to drop you off somewhere. I don't think they got that part. They couldn't go back if they wanted to. Have you heard of any of them going back? Nope, not me. I haven't heard of the ship picking them up and bringing them back to America or the Caribbean or Haiti. But they did have some of the Haitians go back home. They did. Yeah, I read about how some of them went back home. Hmm. Now let me see. If they left Haiti to go to Liberia, would they be welcomed back as a Haitian? Clearly they were. But the Americo Liberians, when they left America, would they be welcomed back home to America as American? Well, this is a different kind of country, and it's not black people. So Trump wanted to send them back home his first term. They were not considered American. Yeah, it's a lot to think about. So, anyways, I hope you guys learned something from the conversation tonight. Let me see where they end in their conversation before I wrap this up because I'm sleepy. Let's see.
It's a coastal area where you mostly live, and let the native people form their own country and everything. Let them have the minerals, let them have all that stuff like that in the interior. Let them have it. You know?
So basically, you just saying they should have just let the natives sink because that's exactly what happened when they got the power anyway.
Well, the bottom line is they will sink by themselves. We would still have a civilization and culture.
They're still sinking by themselves. It hasn't changed anything.
Yeah, so I just think the bottom line is the American Liberians should never try to integrate.
You know, Carla, there's that thing from Spider-Man, right? To whom.
Oh, wait, now hold on, Elvis. You didn't answer the question earlier. Would Liberia be today if the coup never happened?
I mean, I don't know. What I would want to see, you know.
Because I seen this documentary about how life was, and I'm like, they had their own. They had the airlines. They had, they always talk about the rubber industry. They had painting and shit. They had cigarettes. They had a whole lot of industries going.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
Becoming self-dependent as far as food. So I'm like, what would the country be? If that was
I didn't even know that part.
Jonathan, countries usually fall from within. So if you look at an international image of the country, you don't look at what's going on domestically in the country. Like Carla just said, and he's right on that point. I agree with him. If you have great power and you say you're going to build a country, you want to expand your landmass, and you incorporate other groups of people, you have to assimilate them.
Yeah,
you have to give them equity with them.
It has a problem, though. It has a problem.
It doesn't have, but we've seen that in America and every other country. That shit doesn't get done quickly.
Yeah, that's something.
That shit takes a long fucking time. That's like trying to get a whole bunch of dumbass people. Hey, we're going to educate you now.
It's different because the white Americans were the majority. Had they been the minority and the black people been the majority, you think there wasn't going to be an uprising against the white Americans?
American Liberians, if they were going to basically become the majority and like that, really build a country, they should have just gave it up. That's what I think. Because you can't basically impose.
Not even that. They just should have incorporated the native law.
Elvis, the term Liberian is something that was imposed upon you. That's what the problem is. It was imposed upon you. A Liberian is somebody.
Call it a fat mouth ass liar. Ain't no Liberian shit was imposed upon them people, you lying fat fuck. He always babbling his lies. He's an immigrant though. I can't expect nothing special. He immigrant minded. Don't know the history or nothing. Just so stupid. Them people didn't impose nothing on them. Them people ain't say, well, you gotta call yourself a Liberian. Don't you call yourself no Kru and Bassa and vet. You gotta call yourself Liberian. Bet you lying. Them people did not do that. Lying ass. Scammer.
that settled, that was once in bondage or semi-free, and basically went to a land and they want to practice what? Liberty. You know. Now, some Native people will say that doesn't describe me. I was already here, but then there's some natives will also say, "Look, we left the villages to go to Monrovia and Buchanan in Maryland to experience liberty. So I'm definitely a Liberian." Now, would you say? There's some people say,
Lying fat mouth fuck. Liberia was set up for all freemen. Freemen people to come and experience Liberia and free land and, the land of freedom or whatever.
the American Liberians order adopt the native culture, whatever like that. Then there goes with the native.
Oh my goodness. Did he say the American Liberians should adopt the native culture? A savage culture of cannibalism and all type of shit. Child drive and all that. That's what Kyle is into. He's creepy. This bitch is creepy.
The American Liberians brought was this concept that was unheard of in 90% of the world. This idea of liberty, Elvis. The idea of liberty, blessings of liberty, found in Philadelphia in 1776. That's what Liberia was based on. The idea.
I don't disagree with any of those things. Those things are noble. I agree with them.
Have you read the American Declaration of Independence? We hold these true evidence that all men are created equal, endowed by a creator, and all these things. These are things we believe, right? So what we wanted to do was black men would find a place where we could have a declaration. Hillary Clinton's Declaration of Independence for Liberia was similar to the American Declaration. We want a place where black men could live in peace and freedom from slavery and bondage and everything like that.
The key there is harmony, Carla.
Yeah, but the whole thing.
What the fuck are these? What the hell is these two idiots talking about? Child.
Also, black men, and you have to harmonize them and incorporate.
Hold on. If the natives were hostile to them, now you might say harmony in America, but at the same time, when they wrote that constitution, the British tried to invade America, 1812. So they had to take a court. The French Canadians that lived in America and stuff like that, they either had to leave the United States or go to Canada. So yeah, we talk about harmony and everything like that, but harmony without reconciliation is not going to happen.
Harmony.
So if you're the government in power, the onus is on you. It's on your shoulder to show that responsibility to reconcile and incorporate.
Reconcile?
Like I said,
reconcile with people that ate up their leaders? Shot them up and then ate them up? Child.
This is why I say
reconcile.
Other races of people, right? That were but I just believe African culture is just so far behind the rest of the world, like in the Stone Ages almost, right? What they was trying to do with liberty, a constitutional republic, simply was not going to work. I'm just looking at it now, man. It's great.
It was beautiful. Like I said,
beautiful.
Listen, you don't know my whole view on these things. You hear a little part of what I say.
Elvis, when I look at videos of that uncivil war,
listen to what I'm saying, though.
I
always give props.
It was basically. First of all, Liberia wasn't a Maduku ID, Burundi.
Liberia got cold.
I always give props to the American Liberian for finding Liberia. The idea was a global idea.
He finally said it. No, he don't, though.
It was a struggle, man.
1 second, listen to what I'm saying. They found the country, they came there for liberty and all of those great things. We all hold close to those values as black people. Even if I wasn't Liberia,
what the fuck is he talking about? We all hold close to their values as black people. You guys always lived in the bush freely and with your freedom.
Be proud of that fact.
I forgot he thinks he's Liberian American.
Right? But then you're going on to the the more nuanced issues of incorporation, that's where things fall apart. So just say they should have left and came back, I think that's a cowardice way to think about it. They should have done the neutral and incorporated the natives.
Elvis,
it's just that simple.
Can we agree that Liberia spent a huge portion of budget?
Jonathan, next time you're talking to Elvis Lioness and Collar Lioness, that's why it's good to look into stuff yourself. I want you to ask Elvis what's on the screen right now. Ask him why the hell he say the Liberians funded the war against themselves.
Sending all kinds of people, Native Americans, overseas to get skills and stuff like that. And we agree on that?
I mean, when you say, say that again, about the budget, what kind of budget?
You know how many Liberians, Native Liberians that went to HBCUs, they went to America, and the government of Liberia paid for it, you know?
Like that woman president, Johnson. She was adopted by the American Liberians. Girl, they raised her, sent her to school and shit, and guess what? She went right back to Liberia and said the war wouldn't have happened if they would have had, the American Liberians would have had more respect for the native indigenous Africans and incorporate them into higher political positions. I said, what the fuck? They actually adopted her into because they were adopting the people children and stuff. She was one of them, girl.
To get over here to get skills and stuff like that.
We know.
Turn right the fuck on their ass. Well, it was y'all fault the war happened. Ooh.
Is that true, Elvis?
I mean, Jonathan, I don't know what's wrong with you tonight. You're being hostile. I'm probably just going to annoy you now for the rest of the
I'm not being.
That's Elvis. The mask's about to fall off in a minute. Jonathan is asking real questions, unlike Carla. Carla is trying to save him because that's his cannibal brother. I believe Carla is a cannibal eater, by the way. I'm not kidding. He absorbs himself in a culture. He's kind of messed up in the head. I heard him say how he read about everybody around the world, a culture, and he feel he have the right to indulge in a culture because he studied them so much. I heard him say that, and I'm like, you fucking psycho. What are you talking about? He always said about reading books. Sir, every book written is somebody's opinion. You fucking idiot. Every single book that's written is somebody's opinion. It could be based on a factual piece of evidence or theory, but it's still somebody spinning a narrative. If I write a book, my book is going to be spinning a narrative, even if I come different angles about what the American Liberians went through. Elvis' book, because he has a heart for his people, he's going to spin a story quite different, even though you're going to hear him say, oh, props to the American Liberians, but in his own way, he's going to be actually putting them down. A book is people's opinions that they spin their narratives. When you're reading articles, you have to know stories and articles. You have to know that the narrator is spinning their opinion to you or their perspective to you. They're getting you to join their perspective, even if they come from different angles with it. That's what a book does. It spin a narrative of the writer. Don't be so stupid. Keep talking about a book. Sir, take a fucking seat. You wrote a book too. I bet you're stupid. But in that book, you would be spinning a narrative, your point of view. A book written by somebody is nothing but their point of view. They spin in the narrative of their point of view. That's it. That's what the news people do. They either gonna write the story to make this look good or that look good, but either way it go, is their perspective of this situation.
I'm not being hostile. I'm just asking the truth.
Dave, tell him.
And I'm trying to be calm. When you say a lot, that's what I'm.
Ooh, woo! There go the cannibal. He said to Jonathan, I'm gonna ignore you because Jonathan is he doing the same shit I did. He just asking a question. He ain't telling this boy nothing bad. Jonathan ain't say nothing bad to this guy. That's savagery. That's his mindset. He's a fucking savage. Jonathan ain't say one bad word to him. He's just talking to him about Liberia. But because Jonathan know the truth, and Elvis cannot lie to Jonathan, and he's tapping in on him, trying to have the conversation. He's trying to have the conversation with Elvis the liar. But Carla keeps interrupting y'all, trying to save Elvis from the conversation. He's a little slithering ass bitch too. He got some type of creepy agenda. I don't know what it is. Maybe he's a Liberian or, one of those people. He might be one of Elvis people or something. You never know. He's creepy as fuck though. He's a creepy guy. So he up there trying to save Elvis from Jonathan's conversation. And Elvis just told Jonathan, no, I'm trying to stay calm and you're poking. The fuck is you talking about he poking? Just like I was having a conversation with you. All of a sudden you came out of nowhere saying the most horrible shit and then went on to threaten to literally eat me raw. All right, let's see if he do that to Jonathan.
Say a lot. That's what I'm saying. We know of a few.
If you had any idea how many...
Dave, is it true that the Liberian government paid to send natives to school in America?
Let me explain. My aunt is the Bassa and Kru woman. She's a native woman. She went to LU for 2 years, and from LU she went to
Oh, hell yeah. All you got to do is type it in.
Jersey City College in Jersey City, in Jersey.
And the Liberian government paid for it?
Yeah, and the Liberian government paid for it. She got her master's degree.
Okay, so with that being...
We know that the Liberians believed in education, educating, and they even wanted the native indigenous children to be educated. They aimed for the children of the native. Oh yeah, they was adopting the children of the natives and everything. They wanted to civilize them to be like them, Americo Liberians. Yeah, they sent them to school, they educated them, all that shit.
So with that being the case, there was actually an attempt...
My mother too.
Oh, but Elvis lied yesterday. I heard him say that they were adopting the Indigenous African children and making them be piss boys, meaning they would carry their piss and dump it. Really?
But it would take a few decades, but their attempt was to integrate the native people into the country, but it had to take time. These people that wanted power wanted power.
No, that's true. They did try to attempt to integrate them into the country, starting with their children, though. That's what I read about when I was reading about them. They aimed for the children of the native indigenous, which that's the future, so that makes sense to me.
Because that's what I'm understanding. Because according to what Elvis said, and I agree with him, that you have to incorporate the natives into, the regular system or whatever.
It didn't have to incorporate shit. I don't know what's wrong with you.
But it's not something you can just rush. You can't just rush it. But they were actually making attempts to do so.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think Tober had a native vice president.
Now that's true. They were making attempts to do so.
If he got knocked down, the vice president would have been boom. You got a native president, right? Wait a minute, my bad. Wait.
He ran away.
Tober was knocked down. So did the vice president ever take power at all at any point?
He had to run away. They was gonna kill him too. He American.
Damn.
Say that again, Dave. Say that again.
Gonna kill him too.
No, say the last part. Say the last part, Dave.
It's Americo, right?
Oh, okay.
Right?
That's why I say when people just want to talk and they follow up nuggets, but they don't understand the minutia of it.
He's really a native man, but they're gonna say Americo.
Yeah, there's a kill you in America, they kill you.
He's a native
That's the whole thing
man.
for it was like
But they knew he wasn't though.
it turns out the first 5 years in office,
He's
they
smart and
went around just accusing people of
and
being
he's a
verbal.
threat. You hear me, Jonathan? He's smart and educated, and he's a native man, and he's a threat.
Oh, okay.
That's not what it is, Dave.
No, that
Look
makes
at it on the
sense.
right path when you deviate.
That actually makes sense.
You know, let me say this to you, right? In the election that started the war in
Travel the
1985.
world and experience.
What was his name, Dave? You're talking about him, but do you know his name?
You gotta run away.
What was his name? What was the vice president's name? You don't even know his name, so you don't even know who you're talking about. His name is Benny D. Warner. He was the vice president on the top. Okay? So, what we're talking about here is, and again, I don't agree with this, but this is the...
If Elvis is so fucking intelligent, why he don't go back to his country and where he said they're happy since they stole the country and took over? Why he not there?
the thinking. When Samuel Doe became, the head of state, he wasn't elected president yet. He had an election in 1985 against a person called Jackson F. Doe. Both had the same surname, but it wasn't related. One was from Nimba, one was from Grandview. Jackson F. Doe was, I think, the Minister of Education in the True Whig Party. True Whig Party is the party of the Americo Liberians, which has dominated the country for the last, 50 or 60 years since they've been in power during Tubman and before Tubman. So they put all their resources behind Jackson Fire Doe, who was a native from I think a mono man from Nima County, and he was running against Samuel Doe. Samuel Doe again had just committed his coup with his acolytes against the quote unquote American Liberians, and now they're supporting a native man to become president against him. So his mindset was, this is going to be a puppet. They're using him as a tool to get back into power. So he didn't want to. Most likely, he lost those elections, but he didn't want to leave office because again, it's fear. He think that when they get back in there, they're going to come back and take revenge. And Samuel Doe is no hero of mine. He's not my hero. I think a lot of things that he did, especially on the native side, was terrible. He took a lot of tribal sentiments that brought war and violence against many different tribal groups. So he's no hero of mine. But I'm just telling you, you got to understand what was going on, the atmosphere of things at that time. That's the point of it. So you had
I'm glad he said that because his dumb ass ain't come here at 10 years old like he be talking about. You can hear that wicked spirit in him. That boy got really some darkness in there, honey. I could hear Cannibal and Child Soldier all up in that shit. Like, he's creepy to me. Like, he's really creepy. He wears a mask and he's fake in every way. He's a fake Christian. He's a fake Liberian. He fucking fake.
guy who was many looked at as a stooge of the American Liberian because he was a member of their party. He served as a minister in their government, and they were supporting him heavily.
I mean, it's the same bitch sit on panels and talk about Black Americans faking like they Indians. Bitch, you faking like you a Liberian. Are you crazy? You you up there straight up faking like you're a Liberian and saying that Liberians funded the war against themselves. What the?
And they were supporting him heavily, financially and everything. And that would have been a continuation of the government that was just overthrown. So that's some of the things that people need to understand. Benny D. Warner, like you talk about,
We don't give a fuck about that though.
He's a nice guy. He's a pastor.
Boy, we don't give a fuck about that. We talking about with a country where it's all said and done. The savages, you people then took over the fucking land, turned it inside out, upside down, round and round. It's ruined. It would never be what it used to be. That's why you have them fake Liberians wishing that we go back. Our people go back and rebuild. But they're afraid. Them Americo Liberians ain't trying to go back there. Nope. Hmm.
Guy is a pastor. I met him here in Minnesota. Very nice guy. He died, I think, a couple of years ago. But like,
He died last year.
Yeah, like most people.
Thank God he died in America.
Yeah, like most people who ascended to those kind of positions, their upbringing, the people that raised them were American Liberians. So their orientation was orientated to.
He just admitted it. Most of the people are that raised them are American Liberians. But he would have you say that American Liberians enslaved the people, treated them horrible, but they raised their children. All that don't make sense, sir.
You know, we hold these true evidence that all men are created equal, endowed by a creator, and all these things. These are things we believe. Right? So what we wanted to do was, black men want to find a place where we can have a declaration.
I put this 2-4.
They were shipping goods back and forth between the United States and Africa and Europe. You know, Liberia was the only maritime country that has own before the steamship. Liberia had sailing vessels that sailed the world. You know. And
one second, Colin. Let me tell you this, right? Talking about Benny D. Warner. My father's second wife is Benny D. Warner's daughter, Elizabeth Warner.
Warner said, "I know we come from Africa, but I know we didn't come from these damn people." That's what he said.
I got a question for y'all. What's the way forward for Liberia?
I don't know.
He said that he know we come from Africa, but we ain't come from these damn people. That's a low blow, Elvis.
Look, the way forward, like being Val Thomas, right? And I'm gonna have him on my show soon, right? Val Thomas, he's in Liberia with Cynthia Blanford. He was the one. It was the one who got Delta and Kid Deja started from Atlanta and Houston. Anyway, there's more and more black people from Atlanta discovering Liberia, going there and stuff like that. But he just told me, he said, "Let me tell you something, man." And I didn't think he would tell me. He said, "Look, there's this underlying prejudice I'm seeing in Liberia towards African Americans." He said, "We're becoming like the new, they fear us, you know." He said, "They fear us here in this country." He says, underneath the surface, because he's there, he said, they had him on Monrovia Day. They said, nope.
That's what I kept telling them on the panel when I used to hit the link. Elvis used to say these sly remarks that and one thing I could say about Miss Chantel, my listening skills is very on point because if I get to hear it, because sometimes people talk over each other, but my character studying, every fucking thing you say, I'm on point with what you would say. I can learn your pattern. And Elvis has a pattern of he'll come around Black Americans, but I can feel it. I can feel his aura of this a great dislike towards us. He would say sly shit like, you know, he would say all kind of sly shit. And I remember real clearly him yelling out how R. Kelly and Michael Jackson and Bill Cosby raped women and drugged them and raped little girls. And I'm like, excuse me, how can you talk about them when you from a country where you guys normalize marrying little girls? You put marriage on top of little girls. We talking 10 and 12 and shit, which is nothing more than raping them. Yeah, he would say all kinds of little stuff. That's how I knew he was a very, like, oof, he was creepy.
No mention of the African American contribution and the history of how Monroe started with that. They was basically just
Jonathan was having a simple conversation, asking questions. He began to accuse Jonathan of poking him. That's what he accused me of doing too when I was talking to him, having a simple conversation, and I was denying that I was African. I'm an admixture of people we are an admixture of people here in America. Black, we're not African. And he just went savage minds.
going over the native man, the crew man, and whatnot, and they completely erased the American Liberians from the history of Monrovia. You know,
Jonathan, to answer your question, and it kind of goes into what Colin is saying.
But Jonathan, you understand what I'm saying? There's a body, you say way forward. Now, the thing is...
Colin, you got to give me 30 seconds to answer.
Hold on. Let me say this first.
Oh, you want to add? You want to preempt my answer before I answer.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying what I'm saying. You can say what I'm saying after I'm talking. I said when you said as a way forward. Now, black people like myself, we're going to Liberia, right? And I don't tell nobody. I got no land to sell nobody. I don't tell you nothing like that. But I say like this: I would urge every black person, African American, who believes in being African American, that just like we know about Harlem, Detroit, Atlanta, and everything like that, Liberia has a special place in Black American history and culture, above Ghana, above all things. Now, with that right there, that connection right there, once that connection is realized in the masses of Black America, or institutions, everything, yeah, we could basically, there could be a new something emerge, plus the Liberians that live in America, that's in large numbers now.
Let me say this, Kyle, real quick.
Why the fuck would there be a new Liberia after they done ate the people leaders, the males, to so-called absorb their power? They shot them and ate them. Now, what? Oh my gosh. If you try to ever go around such people and form any kind of relationship again, you know how they say, fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me?
Please. So, Jonathan, to answer your question, right? Mm-hmm. It's a simple answer, and we've all been yearning for it. The native, the people of American Liberian descent. Reconciliation.
Oh my gosh. He said the word reconciliation. Gross. If any American Liberian break their dumb ass over there trying to reconcile with these people, sad. And something is truly wrong with him in that case.
And amongst the American Liberians and the natives. This is something that was proposed to us. This was something that we spent millions of dollars. The international community helped us to formulate the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. And they came up with the recommendations. Hold on, let me finish. They came up with a recommendation that was one of the biggest, that was one of the main pillars of the recommendation. Reconciliation. Because again, you had American Liberian who had been
Why you need that, sweetie, when you took over you stole the people's country, you ate their leaders, you shot up and ate their leaders. What are they reconciling? You stole their identity. You're masquerading around the world like you're a Liberian, but you're not. What are you reconciling with them? You say the people are more happier without them ruling the nation. Why the fuck would y'all need to reconcile with each other? About what? Start over again. Like, I'm going to tell you what that is without him saying directly what it is. That yes, Liberia was thriving and awesome, flourishing when the American Liberians was in control of the country. As soon as the native indigenous pagan savages took it, stole it, they ruined it, turned it upside down, inside out, and completely ruined it. It's in shambles now. Don't nobody want to go there. We would like to, that's why he said he wanted to bridge the Americans, Black Americans, with the indigenous, the fake Liberians. Boy, once we find out that fucking history, you think my people gonna want to bridge something with you? See, Kyle and his little crew over there, they're not real black people. That's cosplaying immigrants, you dummy. My motherfucking people would never bridge shit with y'all soon as they find out what the fuck went down. You Dumbo. You can let that go. Now, I don't know about them Americo Liberians that's in America now. I don't think they want nothing to do with y'all no more. They was crying when Trump tried to send them back to Liberia. Child, them people didn't want to go to Liberia. That all they can think is they're gonna get ate. Talking about reconciling with them.
Who have been well off fought for generations, and the war and the coup took everything away from them. So for generations after the coup, a lot of them have been hurt. You had the natives, who a lot of them.
Do you agree with Elvis? Let me ask you a question. Now,
Why wouldn't they be hurt? You killed their people. You stole their country. What the fuck is wrong with this savage? You killed their people, stole their country. You fucking had them to flee for their lives and shit. I heard you rape the women and cut off breasts and shit. What the fuck? Of course that's hurtful to them.
a few years ago in Broadville, my wife was living, right? I got out of here. Where she was living, right? There was a lot of people, Native people, and I hate to say that word, you know.
You hate to say the word native?
You know it, digging up, stealing graves and whatnot.
He said it was native people squatting on the land, shitting. He talking about digging up graves. Oh,
grave sites and whatnot, you know, and squatting on land. Like William Caesar, he just got all the land.
I mean, I don't know why they would. I guess he's saying they dug up the grave sites to live inside the
Caesar Beach. You got back to the States, finally got back all they, and not Liberian courts are starting to enforce removal of squatters on land. Like it or love it, man. There was people that have property. You could not basically say, "Oh, this is native land, and you're gonna steal property." That's not a civilized country. So the courts in Liberia are looking at the law, and they're looking at things when you can't have reconciliation.
I get what you say. I want to get to a bigger point, Carl.
People lost their land, lost everything and whatnot. You know,
and that's what I was saying. But anytime I want to make a point, you cut me off. That's the point I'm making, Jonathan. And that's very important because we are, as a people, now we have hindsight.
Now he want to talk to Jonathan. Listen, you just accused Jonathan of poking you because he was zoning in on you about questioning you about particular things you didn't want to admit the truth, and knowing that Jonathan got his fucking GPT chat open and he looking shit up while he talking. You can't lie to him at this point. He on to your ass that you a liar. So he's looking up shit while you're talking and shit, and he trying to, see where you're going with it. I think he already dubbed that you a true heart tribesman of the Kru people, savage minded, and will make up all kind of excuses to why you stole these people land and masquerading, stole their identity and masquerading around the world like you them. I think he got that. You don't need to say much of nothing else. You a low down motherfucker. And then don't even want to admit. Go as you said, the people feel more happy that the Americo Liberians are not in rule, but yet you want to reconciliate with them about what? Girl, I've had enough of this conversation tonight. Just dumbness.
Well, now we have hindsight, right? We can look back and say, these are some of the things that went wrong. Moving forward, we're going to do it right this time around. And I think that never happened. We had a president who, with all the good recommendation that was made, the one thing that thwarted that effort is because they banned her for 30 years from political activities in the country because she was instrumental in bringing the war. So she scrapped the entire process and never implemented. So we never went to a stage of reconciliation.
But let's be honest, Elvis. Let's be honest with ourselves, right? There was a lot of people who just basically used that because somebody could say she was involved with it, but let's be honest.
Not somebody, her own self. She said she gave the first $25,000 to Charles in Paris, France, to start the empire.
Everybody was in there basically supporting.
There you go again. Still blame the Americo Liberians for ruining a country.
The war and everything like that, but
that motherfucker tribal for real.
You basically did that. You know how many? This was sad, but this there was a lot of people.
Yeah, Jonathan had enough of this stupidness too.
When Charles Taylor left, there were actually warlords that actually came to power. They got elected and everything like that. So to single out Ma Ellen, when you have warlords and stuff like that serving as legislatures and everything
happened, that was going to be another shitstorm.
That's what I'm saying. It was so reconciliation was a joke, man. Yeah, that was a joke. Everybody knew it because she knew all these people.
Reconciliation. Did they have some Americo Liberians take their ass over there talking about reconciliation? Child, they more.
Sitting up people who actually took that body out. You know, they talk about reconciliation. You know, the bottom, as long as you got thugs and everybody getting power and that, until that country gets honorable men and women and whatnot, and the people say, if you go by democratic process, and they say, you know, this person is not, but I don't think Liberians honestly are capable of doing that. You know, the people like Yupa, whatever his name is, and Arakari is Gary, these people are the ones that get elected. You know, and they get elected long terms, and the whole thing is you're going to have.
I think I heard enough because we know Elvis is a liar. He spin the narrative to fit. He spin things to fit his narrative. We know how he truly feel about the Americo Liberians and Black Americans. He truly despises us, even though he masquerade around the world like a Liberian, as though he's a Liberian when he's not. Because again, Liberia is people that come out of slavery. Elvis people kidnapped African tribes and sold people to the Europeans. So he and his people are far from Liberians. Again, they stole the country and the people's identity. And now they masquerading around the world like they Liberians. Like he takes, like Dave said, no accountability whatsoever. He even went as far as to claiming that the Americo Liberians funded a war against themselves. So, just like that guy who George Macon interviewed, and he was one of them indigenous Africans. And I mean, the lies they tell, they spin their shit to fit their narratives. They don't speak the truth though. So anyway, the lesson to be learned from this is simply don't underestimate people. You know, don't underestimate people. And then when you try to build up a land of yourself, try to go somewhere where you're not um, around close proximity to other groups of people. You want to be a good distance. And the first thing you need to have, most of all things, when you do go, you need to have a military. You need to form a brotherhood, and you guys need to know how to defend your nation wherever you are in the world. So you need to have weapons, you need to have brotherhood, and you need to have skills to know how to defend your nation. That's what I learned with all the chap up talk tonight. I learned that if you're going to have a nation that migrates to somewhere else, you must have a military of protection. Let me tell you this, and I'm wrapping it up after this. Matter of fact, I'm going to look it up for you so you can know I'm not just making shit up, okay? Let me put this on the screen for you real quick. 1 second, let me type it up. Okay. This is interesting. All right. What chapter though? Um, Okay, so okay, I found it. All right. Okay, so um this is in Numbers, but the other one, yeah, it's in Numbers 1. All right, so um Airman 20 and more who was able to. Anyways, I was trying to pull up the exact chapter, but it's kind of giving me the runaround. So let me just read this, and you guys can look it up on your own. Okay, so let me give you this right here. When God led the Israelites out from Egypt, bondage, slavery, and He led them, they didn't know how to fight. What only was supposed to be a 3-day journey, it took a very long time because they took routes to avoid other nations of people who may have spooked them. And God said if they go that route, the people gonna spook them and they all gonna scatter because they didn't know how to fight. They were enslaved for hundreds of years. They didn't know how to form a brotherhood and fight and protect their nations. Okay? So rather than taking them the short route, which was 3 days, it took them a very long time to get where they were going extra long because they had to go routes to avoid other nations of people because these people lacked fighting skills, self defense skills. So when God got them to Mount Desert, and it's in the book of Numbers, read about Numbers, when God led them out of, when He led the Israelite out of Egyptian slavery, and He led them to Mount Sinai. When they got to Mount Sinai, the first thing they had to do, God told them to do, which black people, listen closely, we need to do this too. He told them to organize, take a census of how many women, men, children. They were all mixed up, by the way, the 12 tribes. Like every tribe had to organize under their own banner. Meaning, if you were Israelites, you go over there. I mean, if you were Benjaminites, you would go over there. If you were Gadites, you would go over there. If you was Ephraim, you would go over there. They had to organize by tribe. Once they organized, they took a census of every tribe. They took a census of the men of every tribe because the men are the leaders. And then they chose leaders of those tribes. Okay. And once they finished doing that, God had instructed them to form a military. Now they organized, and then what the first thing they did when they got organized? Formed a military that they know how to defend themselves against others. You must know how to defend yourself and your nation, your family. So that's what happened. Again, the Asians over there in Africa. They built up a whole city. I need to look and see what's going on with that city now. It was such a beautiful, I saw that years ago. So I know the people that moved in and lavishly living, and I want to see how that's going because I never looked back at that story again. I forgot what part of Africa it was, but they built that city up, but also established a military on the base, a military quarters, in the jail. So, yeah, I'm gonna look at that and see how it's going. But the most important thing, the people knew, the Asians knew that if we're gonna move there, we need to know how to protect ourselves. And believe me, they don't trust the Africans. Trust me, they got weapons to protect themselves. They gonna have all that if they living over there. That's for sure. Okay. So I think that's where the Americo Liberians ended up losing their newly found country. They did not know how, they didn't have the numbers to protect themselves, and they did not know how to protect themselves. They didn't have any type of weapon. Versus the Europeans and First Nations. The Europeans had weapons to protect themselves. Okay? That's what it is. All right. Thank you for tuning in. Y'all hit the thumbs up button for Miss Chantel. Drop a comment. Let me know what you think about the let me know what you think about the chat. Did you learn anything? Do you disagree or agree? All right. Thank you and good night.